Story 1. She cheated on her boyfriend, boyfriend Alpha, with her manager. She cheated on her manager, boyfriend Bravo, with me. I became boyfriend Charlie that she cheated on. Story 2. I was a vegetarian at the time. He made dinner for himself and his roommate and gave me a bowl of carrots. Story 3. He joked about being emotionally unavailable and I thought he was just being cute and self-aware. Spoiler alert. He was emotionally unavailable. It was not a joke. I just did not take the hint. Story 4. He did not introduce me to his friends when we met literally every day. He explained that it was because I had no common topics for conversation or because they could be a little rude and impolite. Well, the phrase "tell me who your friends are, and I will say who you are" is 100% true. Story 5. The hypersexuality and compulsive sexual behavior resulted in a broken marriage and bedroom, caused by him texting desperate women who also did not see the warning signs. A tragic cycle for all involved. Story 6. How he treated his mother poorly. How he spoke to other women to appear nice while flirting. Love bombing. Story 7. Always accusing me of cheating when there was no way I could have. Turns out she was projecting her cheating onto me. Story 8. He broke his girlfriend's heart to be with me. So there is nothing stopping him from breaking my heart to be with his next girlfriend. Story 9. An hour late to our first date became a problem. She never respected my time and got upset when I brought it up. I am a single dad, so arranging childcare is not easy. I meticulously planned around her work schedule and even took personal time off from my job so we could go on dates and spend time together. But she always showed up very late and then got mad when we had limited time together. Story 10. He had 3 children with his first wife. He cheated on her repeatedly until he left for his second wife. He had another child with his second wife. He cheated on her repeatedly until he left for his third wife. He had another child with his third wife. He is still cheating on her repeatedly. All the wives knew about the cheating and did not take any action, including the current one. Story 11. Kept me private from her friends and always after the money. Babe, I want to buy this. Babe, I want to buy that. Story 12. Her large number of romantic partners and the fact that they were all self-centered individuals stood out. She enjoyed not wearing clothes and kissing. Story 13. I met him while playing Overwatch. He had no job, was not in college, and lived at home playing video games all day. Story 14. The fact that she was making eyes at me while her then-boyfriend was standing next to her, paying outside the store. I was standing in line behind them, just trying to get my $40 in diesel, and that moment almost cost me my soul. I am divorcing now. It has been a challenging experience. Story 15. Being the only one who initiated seeing each other. I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, but I initiated every moment spent together for 3 years. Turns out he was cheating. If they are never the one initiating, if you would never see each other without orchestrating it yourself, it is worth looking at the relationship. Story 16. When my mother was bleeding from her rectum, I did not know anything about it until I realized it was too late. She died of colon cancer. Story 17. I had to explain why someone would want to choose a career writing about movies, television, or games. If I have to explain art, I'm not sure it will work out. Story 18. His age was 33, and I was 19. I originally met him because he was my teacher. He made me smuggle beer cans into the movie theater he took me to for our first date. Story 19. Trash-talking his ex about physical aspects. Objectifying women frequently. Always talking to at least one female. Story 20. Her getting upset at me for not responding for a few hours, then ignoring me for days. I only have myself to blame for staying. She said, I think we can be happy all the time. We shouldn't ever argue. All this did was lead to her not telling me things because she did not want conflict. Story 21. We were on the phone, and I said I was heading to bed and said good night. I jumped on a single-player game quickly to farm some items so they could cool down. Took me 5 minutes. She was playing Call of Duty with my roommate. We all play together, and he said, I think he is playing a game right now. I was already asleep by this point, and she had called me 47 times, no exaggeration, 47 times. We were not even dating, we had only just started talking. She said, I lied, and was calling for that reason. Psychotic behavior. Story 22. My ex-girlfriend could never be wrong about anything, big or small. Even when presented with hard evidence that proved her wrong, she would still deny it. As someone who avoids confrontations at almost all costs, I found myself constantly drawn into arguments. That should have been a sign that things were not going to end well. Story 23. Mental health disclosures on the second date. When someone tells you they have post-traumatic stress disorder and psychosis the first time, believe them. Story 24. Everyone was his best friend. His supposed best friend did not invite him to his wedding. He blamed me and said the guy was jealous of our relationship and was upset they did not spend as much time together anymore. No, actually, he just does not have friends. He is a narcissist who uses people and cycles through friends as soon as he betrays them. Story 25. My first girlfriend always made herself the subject of discussion no matter what. I ignored it because she was very skilled in oral intimacy. Story 26. I was 18 and she was 19 when we met and started dating. Her mother was very involved in the relationship, to the point that I felt like I was dating her mother too. Her mother controlled everything she did. I did not realize this at first. The night we started dating, her mother asked her to ask me for my cell phone number. This was 2 weeks after I met her, and at that point, I had only spoken to her through Facebook Messenger and had never spoken to or met her mother. I refused to give it to her and thought that was a bit odd but did not think much of it. Now, if she had asked me for it herself, I might have given it to her and just told her not to contact me through my number until I got a long-distance plan on my phone, but that was not the case. A couple of weeks later, I suggested we Skype so we could actually meet and talk face-to-face, to which she responded that we could do it another night. That was fine. One night, I was charging my phone, and when I came back, I saw I had received a message from both her and her mother asking if I could Skype. I answered her and ignored her mother's message. I told her I could Skype and questioned why her mother was messaging me asking the same. That led to her mother flooding my inbox, asking why I was questioning her and sending all sorts of other messages. Her mother would not stop messaging me until I responded. I kept opening her messages and ignoring them, hoping she would take that as a hint to stop, but she did not. I should have and almost blocked her mother right then and there. We Skyped the next night, and it was very awkward as her mother was right beside her the entire time. I did not get a good first impression of her mother because of that. It took me a long time to like her mother, and even then, I never fully respected her because of that. We dated for just over 4 years, and her mother was heavily involved in our relationship the entire time. She and her mother came down to visit the following year, and we had a great time, but my family did not get a good first impression of her mother either. I lost my temper at her mother one night, a long time after their visit, and yelled at her after she interfered in our relationship again. I broke up with my ex the next day. It is now a deal breaker for me if I meet a woman whose parents are too involved in her relationships. If I were to hear from my ex's mother again, I would not have anything nice to say to her. I lost a lot of respect for her for not respecting my request to stay out of our relationship. Definitely a red flag and not one I will ever ignore again. Story 27. A guy I dated once told me, you would be the ideal target for a manipulative relationship. I am not going to go into detail, but let's just say he was the worst boyfriend I have ever had. We are not even going to mention that one girlfriend. Story 28. He told me he had his own place and a good job. I found out he lives in his mom's basement selling weed. In retrospect, I should have left when I discovered this. Story 29. I am Scottish, so watch out for my temper. My first ex was right about watching out for his temper because he ended up having poor emotional regulation and was abusive. I do not know what the Scottish did to be involved in that situation. He had one grandparent born there. Story 30. A girl I knew knocked on my door and asked to come in. She was very drunk. We were both in college and it was Friday, so I didn't think much of it. She didn't say much. I asked, "Can I help you?" After 5 minutes of awkward silence and her trying to sit up straight, I said, "I think you should go home and sleep it off." I left to my room to get ready for bed, thinking she would leave. Moments later, she came into my bedroom and sat on my bed. She was wearing a skirt. She turned around, lifted up her skirt, and asked, "Do you want to?" I was in shock. This was a warning sign. Story 31. Almost 20 people told me not to date him, but I thought I could change him. Anyway, he would roam around with many other girls during our talking stage and told one of them that he would not ask me out. But if I did, he would accept. There were so many red flags that I completely ignored in the first 2 months. He was also talking to one girl on text daily using voice messages, and they talked about sex. I found out about it later. Story 32. Hyper-specific, but you are the only person in the world I can talk to about my struggles. Yes, not only was it a massive guilt trip to make me put up with all the emotional labor, it was not even true. She was saying it to at least 10 other people. She was a real can of worms. Story 33. When we stopped by his place, he was still living with his mom, and the relationship was still very new. To pick something up quickly, he asked me if I wanted to meet his mom if she was there. I was nervous and asked him if we could wait because I wasn't ready yet. He had absolutely no problem and said he didn't want to pressure me. Not even a minute later, he walked out with his mom with a big smile on his face. She really wanted to meet you. Subconsciously, I feel like that set the whole tone for my relationship with him and his mom. It was always 2 against 1. Never date an adult who lives with their parent and has absolutely no set plans beyond that. Sure, he had a job and paid his bills, but his mom took care of everything else and made sure I knew just how precious her baby was. Story 34. She was Wiccan in high school and had a really troubled family. Her mother was not allowed to work, and her father went on many business trips to the Caribbean without his wife. It was an open marriage, I think. Anyway, the girl could not have fun. Nothing was enjoyable to her. She was a miserable person and still is, from what I understand. Story 35. Our first time hanging out, we went to a bar. He didn't tell his mother, who he lives with, or any of his friends where he was going and made up a lie about what he was doing that night. He decided to tell me that he didn't tell anyone. It made me feel very self-conscious. We ended up hanging out, which were definitely dates, about 6 more times. Story 36. He never let me touch his phone or his computer. It turns out he was hiding a couple of felonies on them. Story 37. My ex called a dark-skinned man a racial slur because everyone in his family does. Well, he is Swiss and I am from Kosovo. I should have thought about it because I am not Swiss either. There were more signs he was racist, but I thought I was overreacting. I ended it after 6 weeks. Story 38. He followed many girls and left the same comment for each one. "Hey, I think you're really pretty. Could we be friends?" Story 39. A woman on a first date laughed when I almost got hit by a bus crossing the street. She said it would have been funny. After several more dates, she was gorgeous and there was major chemistry. I decided she was definitely a full-on psychopath for that and many other reasons. Story 40. He had parents who were divorced many times and who hated each other. They never went to therapy when his older brother died. People can seek out what they missed. He seemed to want me and my family to make a family, but they had taught him that love ends, and when it dies, you throw that person away. Story 41. She had another man's name tattooed on her. The tattoo was not in an obvious place, and the man was not important, but she had no long-term planning skills. She lived for the moment without caring about the consequences. I left when she randomly called and asked me to co-sign a car loan. She did not have a driver's license. Story 42. She gave me a fake name the night we met. She came home with me and then asked to be dropped off outside her apartment complex instead of in front of her building when I took her home. I got her real name a few days later. I found out she was married 1.5 years after that. My female friends defended her using the fake name when I expressed concern because we met at a bar and I didn't understand how it was for women. Story 43. I am a woman. He said he would still love me even if I were a transgender woman and had a penis. Yes, he came out as gay about 1.5 years later. Story 44. My ex, I will just say ex, was very toxic over her having more mood swings than me. Story 45. I was not allowed to have friends she did not approve of. Funny how all my friends of the opposite sex were slowly getting the seal of disapproval. I went along with it because the sex was good and I was in love. Divorced for 5 years now. Story 46. The new company I started at told me it is not a red flag that they had an open position for several months. All the employees, once I started, would talk about how they cannot get good employees and how they fired all the previous new hires. Story 47. The first time she met my cat, she called him an unpleasant person. He had been abused before I got him, and she kept making sudden movements while petting him so he would shy away. It was not his fault. Turned out she was a very immature person. Story 48. They told me their boyfriend committed suicide because he couldn't handle his drinking and abuse. Story 49. Snake and skull tattoos. She had a boyfriend whom she used to date while also talking about her ex being her twin flame. She was attractive and sometimes funny. Story 50. She said she saw people who were not there and that there was a little girl, an apparition, who sometimes ate dinner with her. Story 51. She told me she did not think I was attractive and refused to block her ex who was texting her while she was with me. Story 52. He had a temper tantrum and started cursing me out because I said I did not like a certain hairstyle and would not wear it for him. Then he cursed me out again months later because it was a hypothetical situation and I should have just said yes. Story 53. Her inability to maintain a friendship for more than a couple of years was always blamed on someone else. Later, I found out that she never confronted her problems or made any effort to fix situations she created. Story 54. He was already divorced and had a child from a previous relationship. His ex-wife and his first child's mother are not the same person. I became his second child's mother. Story 55. I was told he has a reputation for liking girls. He texted other girls while we were in bed together. Story 56. She told me she is not ready for another relationship. She indeed was not. I just was not listening. Story 57. He told me he would not want to live anymore if we broke up. We had been dating for a week. He was 7 years older than me and I was a teenager. Story 58. He smelled my underwear after I got back from a bachelorette party because I went more than 30 minutes without checking in and he thought I was cheating. I cringe when I think back to that. Story 59. He was talking about a violent past, and when our relationship was nearing its end, he threatened other men with violence. I do not know if he ever actually assaulted anyone. He never threatened me with physical violence but was still quite hostile towards me when drunk. Story 60. She did not recognize me. We had been in a relationship for 3 months. I was in town spontaneously at the city center. She was there with her mother shopping. I did not know that. I was shopping too. Our paths crossed, and she did not recognize me. We had an argument in the evening because she thought I was kidding. Story 61. I had a crush on a man who constantly complained about all his ex-partners. I feel like if you talk about your ex-partners that much, then there is a lot more to the story than you are letting on. It is like you are trying to shift the focus away from yourself. Story 62. He cheated on his ex multiple times and had several driving under the influence offenses, which resulted in his license being taken away. He was 5 feet 5 inches tall and was balding. He almost killed his ex. His best friend is going to prison. His father was a dealer and he was a dealer. The list goes on, but it has all been ignored. Story 63. He called his mother a terrible person. Granted, he did treat her poorly when he was 12 by being involved with another man. This woman also abandoned her children when she became bored of being a mother. However, I don't think you should say those things about your parents. We forget that they make mistakes too. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.